So last time we finally finalized our navbar, and we also worked on some design systems. Now we did a very good progress last time with our color system and our font system. But today we're going to be continuing into the heart of this design, which will be the hero section. Now, I used to find the hero section to be the most difficult part. The hero section used to be complicated and used to be a part where you don't really understand the purpose, right? So you don't know what you should put in, how you should lay it out, and you generally feel lost on the hero. But I'm gonna try to explain the hero section for you bit by bit, starting from the purpose. Let's start from the purpose, right? So what is the purpose of a hero section? The purpose of hero section is not to sell your product, is not to provide enough information for the user. It is simply just to get the user intrigued. It's all about creating intrigue. It's all about creating interest. You want the user to scroll. That's what you want the user to do. You don't need the user to be convinced right there and there on the hero section. That's a common misconception. You want the user to get intrigued. Now, when the user lands on your page, you have around 10 seconds, even less than 10 seconds, to capture the user's attention with the hero section. So it is one of the most important parts. So once the user scrolls, that means you have a successful hero section. But if the user clicks out of your page or does not scroll, then the hero section has failed. Now I'm going to take you through the steps of creating a hero section. So stay with me here. We're going to be starting with creating our headline. So a headline is a very important part of a hero section, and I always like to include it first. I want to build our hero section starting from the headline. Okay, so I'm going to start by just saying websites here for the headline. I'm just going to say a little quote here: websites have never looked better. Okay, so this is just a copy. Now, your headline should not be too obvious and should not be obscure. It should not be ambiguous. It should be clear to some point and it should just get the user interested. Okay, so I'm gonna change this to Helvetica here, just regular. We're gonna be making this a lot larger. So we're gonna be going around 108 or 106 here for its size, around 106. Now we've talked about the multiples of 6 and 8, and does this fit the criteria? You can check that out by just dividing it by 6, and it obviously does not divide by 6. You can check that out by dividing it by 8, and it does not. So we're going to be needing something like 108 or 100, so something like this. That should be still, it's not still divisible by 8, so 96 is the last digit divisible by 8. If you add uh around 12 to it, you get 108. So like this is an in-between number. I'm not sure if it's divisible by 6. I think it is, yeah. So this is a good size for us right now. Now saying that, I'm going to reduce the line height to 90%, getting the letters closer to each other. That does two things. One, we don't have as much space as we would like. So maybe just be more conservative on the horizontal space. And two, it just looks better. Simply just looks better. And I'm going to do -2 on the letter spacing. It just gets these tighter. Again, reducing space, but also being very much good in terms of the look, right? So there was a common misconception that your design does not need to look good if it has good UX. And I don't think those two things come separately. If a design is good looking and has bad UX, obviously there is a problem there. But if a design has good UX, it cannot be bad looking because bad looking means bad UX. You need two convey some sort of feeling, right? So you need the feeling of professionality. So if we are creating, for example, a website for kids, right? For selling kid toys, you would want to make it colorful, bright, interesting, fun. If you're creating a website like this, which is just selling your products, like this is a web design studio, you always want to make it look cool, make it look nice. Uh, and that will convey the feeling that you're professional, that you create good looking websites. So look is actually very important. One last thing I want to do is I'm going to make everything into uppercase, which creates this modern looking font here. And as we said, this website will be following a sort of modern ideology of design. Now, one thing I want to do here is I want to collapse this to be something like this, right? So each word will have its own separate line. And I really like this sort of design. It just have this sort of modern look to it, sort of a Swiss design type, right? So you can search for Swiss design and uh, you will see many designs like this. I'm not going to go into Swiss design in detail because it's a very wide topic. But just know that we're going to be using stuff that looks super modern and minimal and clean here. Okay, that's great. Now, from this point, I'm going to be continuing and adding a description. So we just created entry, right? We just created interest using our previous headline here. But that's not enough, actually. What we need to do now is provide the user information. Like we can't just create intrigue and leave the user hanging. So we just need to give the user a bit of a description of what we do, because the user needs to know what is the purpose of this website, what is this brand, what is this company doing. And let's just create some sort of type here. I'm gonna say, for example, here we create or we build websites that convert users, websites that pose, feel good, look good, and does everything you want with efficiency. Okay, so like this a good description, because now the user is not left out. The user has every bit of information he or she needs. Uh, I'm gonna have it on 3 lines here, and I think this is sort of a perfect look for it. But I want to work with the colors. I want this obviously to be white. It's one of the most important parts of the website, but this is not as much visual hierarchy, so it does not have as much visual hierarchy. So we're going to be going around gray 600, which obviously we have to make sure that it is still visible and it does adhere to the contrast laws here. Uh, yeah, so we're going to be using this as a lower contrast barrier here. Now continuing on, we're going to be needing uh, two more elements here. We need two types of buttons, right? We have this button here, which I'm going to be copying here. I'm just going to duplicate it and bring it down here. And we need our primary call to actions for the hero section. Now, it was fine that we used a simple button for the navbar. The navbar call to action doesn't need to stand out, doesn't need to be anything interesting. It just has to be there, just as an option for the user. But here, this should be a button that conveys trust, that says like it shouts out, "Click me." So how are we gonna do it? Just simply, I'm gonna start by changing the color to the mint that we had. Continue with that trend here. I'm gonna change this color to be sort of a darker mint instead of just being black. So I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna create this color here, which is a darker mint. You can get the fill here, 002 F2A. Also, Just make sure that you could grab this Figma file. I've left it down below in the description. There's a link. You can just copy this Figma file and use it and practice with it as much as you want. Every single variable, every single design system will be in it. So I really advise you to take this opportunity. Now, continue with this. I want to make it a bit more interesting. How am I going to do this? I'm just going to add a visual accent. Now, a visual accent is just something like a shape or a different color that just creates visual interest points. So it doesn't feel just as one part of the design, but it feels as a part of the design that stands out. I'm going to do that by creating a line here. I'm going to drag the line here. Right, so around 16 here looks nice. I want to round it off here. Great. I want to make the line white. That should be the primary color here. Also, we would have to deal with different sort of variables here, and we're going to be dealing with that next time. I mean, next video. So let's take this. This will be our arrow icon, and we're going to put it inside of a frame. And I'm going to make this frame 32 by 32. There won't be any gaps nor padding, and it will be centered. Now, if I apply a fill to it, and if I apply a fill of the previous color, you can see that we are having sort of a lift container for our icon. It's like a mini button. So I'm going to go add a corner radius here of 6 pixels. Why did I do that? Why did I choose 6 pixels out of any possible number? Like we already are using 8 pixels, so why did I choose 6 pixels? Very simple. I'm gonna label this accents, right? So BTN accents. And I'm gonna take it into the button. Now, since I have done that, what happens is I'm putting a corner radius item inside of a corner radius item. And the principle is that your inner items should be smaller corner radius than your outer items. So they can't be 8, 8. This has to be 6, and this has to be 8. So the upper one would be greater. Now I want to create space here. I want to create space by providing a gap here. I'm going to go 8 pixels. And I think that the height here is just a bit too much. So from 64 pixels, I'm going to reduce it to 52. Just to make sure that it is centered vertically so that your content does not be messed up like this. So just make sure it's centered vertically. And here we have a very cool, minimal, but more interesting accent. Now this button also does the job of guiding the user's attention here. So it like forces the user to click on it. The user will be intrigued. So we're going to be continuing anyway. So we're going to be taking this button one more time. And this time we're going to be changing it just a bit more. We're going to be going learn more. And this is not going to be a primary button, but instead it's going to be a secondary button. So secondary button. So this here will be a primary button accented. So accented. Or you can say an accent primary button. Just make sure to name your layers in a way that you understand. Now, I don't want to make this pink because we already have a pink button here. And I think this does not need to compete for visual hierarchy with this button. So I'm going to make it a bit dimmer here with a less visual hierarchy. The way I'm going to do this is just basically giving it the gray 100 background color, which is the same as the background. And I'm going to give it white text, but I'm going to go give it a stroke. And this stroke should be what we already have, which is the gray 300. So very subtle button here, as you can see, but it does the job. This will link to something like an explainer video or a blog about the company or just additional information from somewhere. But it should be here to give the user just a way of quick visiting a source of information. Now I'm gonna go here and I want to give this a 52 height. The reason I'm doing this is for these two to have the same height, right? So they should be proportional. And I'm going to select them and group them. Here, I'm going to name them call to actions or CTAs. And I'm going to give them a gap of 16. Again, following the trend of multiples of 6 and 8, or 8 actually. So we have our buttons, we have our headline, and we have our description. These are the three main important parts of any hero section. But we want to be continuing. We want now to add additional information. We want to make stuff interesting. How do we do that? I'm going to start by taking this side, right? I'm going to take this side and I'm going to find something to do with it. Now, I've thought of so many things, but the one I ended up with choosing was I want to create like a display of the many companies we worked with and the many websites we have made. Uh, so how are we going to be doing that? I want to take a logo first of all. Let me just copy it here. Uh, let's copy this, bring it over here. Okay, I have this logo. Slash instance here. I have this logo and it's e-radio logo. Long-term viewers of the channel, no long time actually, know that this logo was created as part of a project called e-radio, where we designed a radio mobile app. You can check it out on the channel. But let's say we have worked on a project to create the website version of this app. So we could present this as our work. Great. So now at this point, what we can do here is we can add additional information. Well, if we just provide this here, if we just put this right here, the user won't really get it. Like what is this logo? So we want to provide additional information. So I'm gonna do that by just taking this here and I'm gonna rewrite this to be e-radio. So we have this e-radio, uh, and I want to fill the space a bit more. I'm gonna say e-radio APK. Okay, something like this. Maybe this is. Maybe we can just keep it at e-radio. Let's do that. Okay. Now we're gonna be having two primary points of visual interest. Now obviously, uh, it is fine to break the rule of visual hierarchy in some cases. So when you get to a certain level of understanding of web design principles, you will know times to break them. That's what all good designers do. So here we are breaking this law of visual hierarchy to make something interesting. I'm trying to create a sort of a newspaper style website here where information is stacked one on top of each other and multiple headlines are present on the same view. So we're going to be seeing how that turns out. But for now, we just have e-radio, but also we need a description for this e-radio. We don't want to sell this product on our website, but just tell the user what you did. We built the website version for the mobile, for the radio mobile app, e-radio. Maybe something like in February of 2025. Something like this, right? So just obviously a random text here, but I think it does the purpose that we want it to. Now I'm going to select these two and I'm going to group them. Now I'm going to make sure that there is around enough spacing here, around 16 pixels, I think would be very nice. And I'm going to align everything to the right. Now I'm going to also go and align everything here to the right and for the text as well. And I want there to be something like this. Obviously, we don't want text to be expansive like this. because we don't want the user to turn their heads this long to watch or to read something very simple. We just want to make it easier for the user to read it without turning their heads or even moving their eyes. So when we're having this, we're going to be having this as well. And this will be a sort of a carousel, like multiple of our projects will be swimming by. Like next up, maybe we've done a website for Apple, so the Apple logo and a description of what we did and stuff like that. So it will keep recycling, which will have an interesting effect. So one thing I want to do now is I want to provide a call to action. Now, the user will probably want to see this case study. By the way, rename this company info or project info. The user will probably want to study this, right? So we want to provide a case study because hiring managers will want to see in detail how we work, what services we provided, and stuff like that, right? Also, they want to see the website, the finished website. So I'm going to be providing a solution for that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this here, duplicate this arrow and bring it over here. And I'm going to turn this around 45 degrees and I'm going to make it bigger. Okay, how do we make it bigger? So make it longer and we want to make it way more bolder here. I'm going to go with around 8 pixel line weight, right? So just maybe make it smaller here. I want to go with around 30 pixels maybe on the height. Okay, maybe 30 pixels a bit too small. Maybe around 50. Okay, now we want to take this, put it inside of a frame again, and this will be our CTA for this. We just want the user to go ahead to the case study. Now, if we get the user to either go to the case study or the contacts page, that's a success because the case study will actually provide additional information and it will actually do very well to get our brand to be known because you are in a case study you have time and you have space to talk about what you do, how you do it, details, and that will probably or hopefully get the user interested to work with you. Okay, so around 64 by 64 maybe. That looks a bit too small. Actually, I want to go with around 200. Obviously, making sure that the alignment is centered. And I want to go with a corner radius of 999. What this will do is it will make it fully rounded. If we give it a background color, you can see we created a rounded container. Now, where could we place this? Let's collapse some of our elements here just to make it easier to work with. We can bring it over here. Okay, we can bring it over here and place it on top. And I would like to put it somewhere like this, right? Obviously, I want to get it out of the logo. And I think this looks very nice, just overlaying on top of the logo. Great, so obviously everything here is a bit messy at the moment. And I want to take this episode just to work on what should be there. And next time we're going to be working on the layout and maybe add a bit more accents and interesting stuff to make it all look cool. But here I want to add one last thing. I want to add a badge. And I'm not going to show you how you create a badge here. I think it's a bit out of the scope, but I've taken the time to design a badge here. Obviously, I did not take the time to name my layer groups. Maybe I'm going to do that in between the episodes here, the parts, but you can see I've just created a badge here. If you want to know, like, this is more of a graphic design aspect, and if you want to learn something like that, I'm more than happy like to provide a tutorial. Just comment it down below. Uh, But yeah, you can find this asset here in this Figma file. As I told you before, just go in there and just uh, get it from this Figma file uh, through the link down below in the description. It's completely free, by the way. So now here we have Best of 2026 Web Studio. Very nice sort of badge here that will do everything we need it to do. Uh, and these are all the elements that we need. Obviously, I'm going to be taking this, putting it inside of a frame here. And this will be our logo here, project logo. And I'm going to take this CTA, put it here. The reason I didn't group it is because I want the frame to be only this, and I want this to be just like overflowing. Okay, so we're almost done here. We just want to take our guidelines and maybe try to position stuff a bit better for next time, obviously. Something like this here. And we'll be having our content to be done like this. Okay, this is obviously not the final form, but we did so much here in creating the components of our hero section, what you wanted. Just focus on providing a headline, a description, and call to actions. Then go around and provide some visual accent just to to show the user what you do, to maybe show the user what makes you interesting, what makes you stand out, maybe show your best projects like a screen, for example. That's how you create a hero section. These three are important. Then these three are also very important, but they differ. They vary a lot from website to website. Then the most difficult parts, which I found it to be, was accenting. And we did that already by creating this sort of badge here, just creating some visual points of interest, fun parts in the design. Uh, but next time we're going to be doing more. We're going to be creating background patterns and stuff. And we're going to be trying to also track our variables. So next time this will be very interesting, and we'll be finishing the hero section on the next part of the series. Hopefully you're enjoying the series. I'm really enjoying making it. Uh, and yeah, if you have any questions, please feel free to comment it down below in the comments. I'm going to try to answer all of your questions as much as I can, either on the comments or on a separate video. Again, yeah, thanks for watching. We're going to be continuing with the design next time. Goodbye.